Even though it had been many decades and Earth's technology had grown beyond the modern era, we were still living in ancient Greece and Steve Trevor had not been born yet. Instead, what happened was I had crashed my private jet into the shield of the Mystura and my divine body couldn't be harmed, but my clothes were a different story, so I fell in the water near the beach, and when the Amazons saw a giant muscular man with a large member between his legs, they automatically knew what I was. They said, "It's a handsome man, but how is he not dead or burned? Could he be a god?" And then the Amazons said, "He must be." And then I woke up in the water to see some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and I smiled warmly at them all and I said, "Hi, my name is Kronos." And then one of them said, "You're Lord Kronos the Titan." And then I said, "Yes ma'am, could you please help me? I have no clothes and they seem to have burned away in my accident. I just need to speak with Queen Hippolyta, please ma'am." And then Wonder Woman ran down the mountain and I saw that she actually looks like Gal Gadot, but she has blue eyes and she looks muscular and strong like a real warrior. And then Wonder Woman asked all the Amazons, "What's going on here?" And then I waved at Wonder Woman and I said, "Hi, my name is Kronos and my plane ran into your shield, sorry about that." And then all the Amazons mumbled, "Could the prediction about Diana's future be true?" And then Wonder Woman stepped forward and she blushed and said, "You're a man?" And she looked at my penis and raised an eyebrow and I said, "Oh yes, finally, please ma'am, take me to your Queen Hippolyta so I can please get some help." And then I said, "My name is Kronos." And then Wonder Woman said the same thing, "Could the prediction be true about my future?" And Wonder Woman said that out loud and I asked her what prediction, and then Diana, otherwise known as Wonder Woman, said, "Well, I will let my mother explain everything if you are really who you claim to be." And then I said, "Look ma'am, I really am Kronos." And then all the Amazons pointed their spears at me and then Wonder Woman said, "Follow me." And I walked with the Amazons and they were all talking about having sex with me and I blushed a bit. And then Queen Hippolyta saw me naked and she blushed red like a tomato and she said, "Oh my, you don't see that every day." And she smiled at me like a pervert and she began to laugh at me and she said, "My word, so the predictions are true. It's so nice to see you, Lord Kronos," Queen Hippolyta said. And then I asked her, "What predictions are you all talking about?" I asked Queen Hippolyta calmly and politely and she said, "You have a lot more manners than I was told and you respect women, I like that." And then she told me about the very accurate prediction that one day I would fall from the sky and land on the island and I would make love to her daughter Wonder Woman and I would also become the lover of every other Amazon woman on the island. And I said, "Come again." And then Queen Hippolyta said, "It's very interesting, really. I must say that now that I have seen you naked, I now understand why a lot of women want to have sex with you." And then I blushed and I asked, "What's going on here?" And then Queen Hippolyta said, "Well, nothing bad. You are destined to give children to all the Amazons and you are also destined to marry my daughter Diana, Princess of the Mystura." And then I said, "But I barely know you all. I don't know if this is a good idea." And then Queen Hippolyta said, "You are a good man and an innocent soul, just like I was told many years ago." And then I asked, "Who told you about me?" And then suddenly Gabrielle appeared and she said, "Hi husband." And then I said, "Gabrielle, how did you get here?" And then she said, "Well, I had a female android take my place and time did the rest." And then I said, "But I thought it was you. That android kind of acts like you." And then she said, "Yes it does, but I didn't want to stay home all the time and retire like Xena did, so I came here because I thought I was the queen of the Amazons, but I guess I was wrong." And I told them about you and the fact that even after I betrayed you more than once, you chose to show mercy and spare my life. And then I said, "I need some clothes please, I'm getting cold." And then everyone laughed and I asked, "What's so funny?" And then Queen Hippolyta and Wonder Woman said, "Follow me." And then I followed them to an underground hot tub and then they began to explain everything, but I just ran and jumped in the hot tub and I said, "Oh, that feels so good. You were saying something earlier." And then Queen Hippolyta said, "Oh, it's nothing Diana, I will leave you to him." And then Wonder Woman undressed herself in front of me and I saw the most beautiful nude woman I've ever seen in my life. And then Diana walked into the hot tub nude and then she walked toward me slowly in the water and then I asked her, "What are you doing?" And then Diana Prince, otherwise known as Wonder Woman, walked towards me really close and she said, "It should be obvious."